you
Yeah, it sounds
playing The
great.
Exorcist in the background right now? No.
Yeah,
Are you?
yeah, yeah. It's spooky in here.
Ooh, spooky. Ooh. From movies to video games, welcome to Marie Plays It All. Today's episode is Side Quest review with my friend Kevin Ketchie. And this review is about The Exorcist Believer. Woo!
Woo!
I just came out of it just now. I just got home from seeing it. Kevin, you saw it. When did you see it?
I saw it opening night, Thursday, and I know everything that you're feeling. Uh, we
Mhm.
haven't we haven't discussed, like, Marie just got home, and so, like, yeah, we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
it was it was a movie.
Was it?
No,
Yeah, I want to try to keep the first half spoiler free, just talk about feelings.
yeah,
And then we're going to get into some nitty gritty things that we obviously didn't like. I want to first say, I think the original Exorcist, scariest movie I've ever seen. I watched it when I was a kid, couldn't sleep for 6 months with the lights off. It is a absolute masterpiece of a film, of an actual film. It is beyond
yeah.
it's a classic for a reason, and there's nothing else like it. There never will be. I think that this movie shouldn't have a necessarily a direct sequel anyway, but also my feelings on David Gordon Green's Halloween franchise is pretty poopy. Halloween Ends is like an atrocity, and I hated Halloween Kills. But let me tell you something, people. I would gladly go watch the Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends back to back showing than ever watch The Exorcist Believer ever again in my life.
I said
Ever.
the same. I said the exact same thing to Burke. I said this makes Halloween Ends look sensational. Like, at least Halloween Ends is like a coherent shitty script. I mean, it's a total rip off, copy and paste of Christine. The Exorcist Believer. I don't know how this movie. I mean, I know how it got greenlit, but the story is so sloppy. The whole movie was trash. I hated everything about this movie: the dialogue, the directing, the cinematography, the legacy characters, and why they were brought back. Everything about this movie is inept. Everything.
Yeah.
Your body
I knew
language
I
is perfect.
I knew you didn't like it. I've seen a number of negative reviews online. So I
Yeah.
thought I saw the passion of the dislike for it, and I thought going into it, I'm like, but then I saw a couple of reviews where people were like, "Oh, it's not that bad." I was entertained the whole way through, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will go in there, and I'll be like, "Oh, it wasn't terrible."
Right.
But it was even worse than how worse I originally thought. How bad I originally thought it was going to be. It was
Mhm.
beyond my greatest fears of how bad this movie was going to be. It was beyond. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he disappointed me so much to the point where I was embarrassed. I was watching, oh God,
Yeah.
the whole like last act, third act of the movie. I was so embarrassed
Hmm.
that I was like turning away from the screen, like, nah, you didn't just do this in this movie. Like David Gordon Green, please, you didn't just release this movie. You didn't think to put this in a movie, and it's in the movie, and this is what you decided on for an Exorcist sequel. The Exorcist, this movie for the Exorcist sequel, terrible. This movie as a possession movie, the worst one I've ever seen.
I think the Pope's Exorcist. I had more of a fun time with Russell Crowe on a moped, and like a really derivative, generic Walmart possessed movie than I did with this one. And kind of going back to all the negative reviews, and I get so tired of the fans or the people that come out and stand up against the hate. First of all, it's not hate, it's criticism. And it's fair, more than fair. It's valid for this trash attempt at an Exorcist movie. And, there's a lot of talk about people are being hyperbolic and the hate is not warranted. Yes, it is. If you are paying $400 million for this massive property that has been such a movement in cinema, such a pivotal part, and not just horror, but cinema, if you're paying that much money to bring that back, to bring the legacy characters back, and you're moving forward with that, then that is your responsibility to make that a piece of the fabric of The Exorcist. There is nothing about this movie that is The Exorcist. Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing. It has no atmosphere. It has zero atmosphere. It has zero tension. Nothing scary. There's like some cheap jump scares in it where I was like
Mm-hmm.
kind of plugging my ears because it's loud in the
Yeah.
theater and I didn't want to be like, oh, this movie
Right.
scared me. Because no, the movie didn't scare me. A loud sudden noise would scare me. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second.
No,
Wait.
it's okay because there's a lot to unpack, and some we're gonna get brain
Yeah.
farts, but it's okay.
I you were saying
I was just saying about how people are just like, it's not that bad. It's not, it's not
mm,
supposed to
oh
be,
yeah.
it's not supposed to be like The Exorcist. There's no way they can
Hmm.
recapture that. Well,
Hmm.
The Exorcist 3 did. That's why The Exorcist 3 is
Yes.
so good. It's not about a possessed girl. It's about people and humanity and and also like the contrast of inhumanity and evil and faith. But it captures that atmosphere and it takes you to the deep, dark depths of that abyss that Friedkin's magnum opus inhabits. Like it captures that with the dialogue and the directing is so cerebral, and it's just
Hmm.
grounded in reality, but also just like it's just very unconventional in the way that it's filmed. Like the way it's written, the way it's shot, like it just does not feel like a movie. The Exorcist and The Exorcist 3, it's just so masterfully told, and
Hmm.
it's in just very powerful and artistic hands. And I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard not to talk about spoilers because there's so many choices in this movie that I don't even think like a 12-year-old would make for an Exorcist movie.
You said The Exorcist 3 is like about people and cerebral and everything, but it didn't spell it out for you. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you felt it, a feeling. The Exorcist Believer spells it out for you like you're an idiot.
Yeah,
Like,
it treats you like
and
you're dumb, and it gives you breadcrumbs. Like, there you go. Enjoy this. You like this. Like you love what we're giving you right here, right?
yeah, and you like this message that we're putting in here, right? Like
Yeah,
you like what we're saying, right? Like this is when you have something like you say, it's like The Exorcist, you pay $400 million for it, and with great power comes great responsibility, right? And
yeah.
you should treat that franchise that's so cherished by people with respect, and you should show that you're passionate about it. I found that this movie was so disrespectful to the original movie and the characters in the original movie. I can't believe that they brought Helen Burstyn in and to do what they did with her character.
Mhm.
I'm ashamed. How dare you, David Gordon Green? How effing dare you do that to her?
This was the worst I've ever seen in any of these requels. Like, I am publicly not a fan of any of his Halloween movies. I think they are all just like very not Halloween. I think the legacy characters brought back serve no purpose other than to be like a marketing ploy and just for like weird exposition. And all the characters that when they bring these legacy characters back, they're not their true characters from the IP that they're known for. They're wedged in really embarrassingly, and it makes you
Yeah.
not like the characters, and it ruins their character and the story, that art that's so beloved. And why you would continue to do that is just like I feel like David Gordon Green's like Thanos, just connecting his collecting these infinity stones, just ruining all of these like important IPs. And this is, like I said, this is the worst I've ever seen a character handled in any movie in my entire life with Chris McNeil, Ellen Bernstein. And once it gets to her part in the movie is where I just was like putting up my middle fingers and I wanted to
Yeah.
leave, you know?
Yeah.
Like the first, I've heard people say the first half of the movie, the first third is interesting. And, we're kind of like gaining some momentum. I never felt that. I thought it was very flat. I thought it was very boring. We start off with, I can't remember the actor's name, but it starts off with the father and the pregnant mother. And I just never got the sense of like anxiety or grief or like any of that. Just the way it's shot, everything's shot really tight. I think the smallest lens they shot on was like a 75. Like everything's very tight. There's no wide shots. There's no sense of like just atmospheric establishing shots. And the writing's just just piss poor dialogue.
Oh,
Very generic, very lazy, very Walmart. And that is just not what The Exorcist is. And I just cannot believe they didn't try. They didn't
no.
try at all.
That's what it feels like. It feels like they did not try. On the way home, I kind of felt like I was tearing up because I felt so heartbroken.
It hurts.
I felt heartbroken. Like, how dare you take this beloved movie and
Mm.
do this to it? And not even, yeah, literally not even try to even keep it feeling like it was in the same world. Like, it just
Mm-hmm.
felt like it was, and there was like, it felt disjointed in a way, kind of rushed in a way.
It
I
was
didn't,
very
they didn't,
clunky. It was choppy. It
yeah.
was clunky. The story just like
What?
moved in a weird pace, and I was just never engaged with anything that was thrown on the screen. I didn't care about the dad. I
No.
didn't care about the mom. I didn't care about either of the little girls. And the way, well, I guess we'll have to say that for spoilers, but one the other little girl, Catherine, like the way
Yeah.
they made her family look with like
Yeah.
just super disrespectful and gross. I'm so tired of like that being a thing where we make fun of a certain religion or a race, and it's just like the cool thing to do. Like that just felt really gross. And then, but the grossest thing of all was how they treated Ellen Bernstein's character
Oh,
with that one line of dialogue. I cannot believe they wrote that, and I can't believe she agreed to say that. And for if you don't know, people don't know, they offered her like they basically backed the truck up full of money and was like, here, we'll give you all this money. She said no. She read the script. She said no. They doubled it. She said no. They tripled it. She said no. But then she was like, well, if you pay that, and I think she said if you cover this scholarship that she's a part
yeah.
of, then she agreed. And I think that's how they got her back. And she was like, it was basically making a deal with the devil, which it was, because
Huh.
I hate Blumhouse. I genuinely hope that this movie fails and the two planned sequels get derailed. I
I
think that
agree.
I think Blumhouse, they've really established a solid company with how they profit off of like very cheaply made horror movies, because people love horror, like it's fun. It's my
Mm.
favorite genre. It's a lot of people's favorite genre, and we'll usually go see something in hopes it's like the next great thing. And they've got a really profitable formula, but I just think all their movies are so bad, and they have no right touching Halloween or The Exorcist.
No, and I'm just scared. Like, what are they going to do next? And someone needs to stop them. I'm sorry, but it has to be stopped. I mean, if you want to
Yeah,
make your own horror movies, fine. And if you want to make ones that are like generic or whatever, or just like kind of
right.
easy to watch, and you're like, ah, it's okay, it's a horror movie, it's good. But do not keep effing with the classics that we love. Do
Yeah.
not.
they're not
Please
capable
stop.
of they're not capable of making something like this. They're too incompetent, and the people that they hire to make these are not competent enough to deliver. Clearly,
No.
David Gordon Green, man, what a weird guy. Like, I don't know what it is with his love for like community and the way people act in his movies that are not grounded in reality. Like the way people act in Halloween Kills, and the way Laurie Strode acts throughout those three movies about grief and pumpkin pies and tits and cherry blossoms and like being a Terminator. And then you got Chris McNeil, who's just very woke in this movie and very unappreciative of the priest that died to save her daughter. And people that just randomly walk into people's houses. Um,
What was
just
that?
very weird.
I don't understand 90. I don't understand any of the choices in this movie, the writing choices. I don't understand why we had to have two girls in this whole thing. And I don't understand why why they were possessed. I don't understand
Because
what
it's
happened.
scarier. There's more at stake.
But
Double
it
the
but no.
possession.
No. Know what it does? It takes the
Mhm.
tension and the fear and the scariness and it cuts it in half. And then it's like your focus is like, well, do I care about this? Do I care about that? And like, look at her makeup. Why is her makeup worse? And why is this? And like, I don't, you can't
Right.
focus on it. And I'm telling you, the sound design for the freaking
The
voices,
devil,
the
the
possessed,
voices,
oh
the
my
dubbed over
God.
voices where everything was like off and just
It was
really
off.
cringy. Yeah,
So, like, the guys, this
I
isn't even
agree.
a spoiler, like, just be prepared for the mouths to be off, for it to clearly sound like it's not coming out of this girl, it's someone in the studio throwing it on there. This
And it's
movie, all
cranked
it was
up to like a million. It's
cranked.
so
I
like
know.
exaggerated, right? And also like whenever the girls start to change, like in the original Reagan, like you can kind of it just it takes its time and it starts to build, and like
Yeah,
the
feel it.
that undercurrent of like turmoil and malevolence really starts to
Mhm,
brew, and you can just feel it all throughout that movie. And with her going to, the hospital and getting these tests for like, psychological tests, and it just builds and builds. And in this one, once they do start to show signs, they're already like in full demon form, right? Like whenever we're at the church with Catherine, she's just like all mangled up and just like
yeah.
big, big five head, and then the other little girl in the hospital, it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this. It's just
Yeah,
very
well,
rushed, very
it
rushed.
was. Well, because when you're doing, like, 2 possessions, it's like like, what else are you gonna do? Have a 4-hour-long movie to focus on each girl? Like, keep the focus
Mm,
simple, keep it on one thing. Don't try to do this big, huge, elaborate, like, "Oh, these 2 girls, and now they're beating in sync," and they don't even explain anything. Nothing's explained. This isn't it's like, again, this isn't a spoiler.
no,
Like, if you are going into this movie expecting any sort of a story or any sort of connection to characters, any sort of feel of The Exorcist, and anything to bring you back to The Exorcist, like an Easter egg, be like, oh my God, that's great. You're not gonna get shit. You're not gonna get any of it. You're not gonna feel The Exorcist. You're
no,
not gonna
no,
feel a
nothing.
good possession movie. You're not gonna feel any tension. You're not gonna feel any fear. You're gonna feel embarrassed and anger, and that's it. And if you
Yeah.
don't, I'm happy for you because I wish I felt like that. And you just walk into a movie and you're like, oh, this actually wasn't that bad. I was entertained. That's great. But nah, mm-mm. Not
Nah,
me.
this is
Didn't do
no,
it.
not me either. And I was so pissed. Like I gave it half a star out of five. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think you said it best. Like it resembles nothing of what The Exorcist was about. Just how evil it was and how personal it was, and how,
yeah.
this woman who has this great little place in life with her daughter and her career, and then she can't find anybody to help her. She has to resort to faith and belief in something that she doesn't even really fully believe in, because she has no control. It's about losing control, and it's about
Mhm.
belief. And it's just so absent
Yeah,
everywhere in this movie. It's just so surface level
yeah.
and cheap. It's so cheap.
And also, watching The Exorcist as an adult with kids, I'm like, wow, this is the mother's love and dedication. Like, you feel it so hard in the OG Exorcist. I'm like, do these people care about their kids? Like, did this one dad saying he loves
Oh,
his daughter and they have a
I can't wait till
connection.
we get into this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. We're gonna get into spoilers soon because I
Whew,
just there's certain things we have to talk
whew.
about, like, in detail that are so, but, like, I didn't feel any care or love. I didn't feel the friendship. You don't feel anything. To me, all this movie was, honestly, was the girls tilting their heads like this,
And just being
some
like,
loud
yeah, yeah,
some
just making, yeah.
loud burping demon noises, and a dad's blank stare. Like, that's all the shots were. A dad staring
Unemotional.
blankly,
Everyone's unemotional. Everyone's so lackadaisical. Everyone's so nonchalant. It's like evil dies tonight, but everyone's just mute. Everyone's just kind of like, well, how much longer we got till this Exorcist stuff is done? Like, and then there's also people in this movie that like serve 8 different roles. Like the neighbor, played by Ann Dowd's, like the irritated neighbor that's just
oh,
like, "You're gonna
yeah.
bring your trash in," but she's also a nurse. She's also an ex nun. She's also a fucking exorcist. What the fuck? Oh my god, man!
Guys,
But
it's bad.
but
It's
like,
so
it's so stupid. It's so
so
stupid.
bad.
But you just don't care. You do not care. There's nothing that moves the needle. And like back to the OG, whenever Chris McNeil goes up to Reagan's room and that fucking door slams shut, it is Armageddon. Like you just feel so bad for her because her daughter is like, she's not dead, but she's not there. And there's a lot of dialogue. I get goosebumps just thinking about it, where she's like, you could show me a double of Reagan, that, and that thing upstairs is not my daughter. It's just so scary. And all I can think about is the interaction with Catherine, possessed Catherine, and Chris McNeil
Oh my
upstairs. But
God. No.
we'll save that for the spoilers, because that's when the movie really, really craps its pants. Oh,
Okay, I mean, okay, so basically to recap, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, I remember Kevin when you posted your review on Instagram, and I said I want to go for my own opinion. I need to watch it. And you said don't give this movie one more cent. Don't do it. And I want to say to people, yeah, go watch it and like maybe you'll like it or form your own opinion, but I want to boycott it. That's how strongly I feel
Mm.
for this movie, how badly I give this movie. You were gracious giving it half a star. I give it 0 stars out of 10, man. I
If I
hated
could
every
gave it zero, I
second.
would have. I mean, I give it zero as well. It's
Yeah.
just not a movie. If you like it, more power to you. And art is subjective. And I said this in my review, but like, you know, cinema is not cinema anymore. Movies are not movies, are not these stories. They are just content. All it is these studios that smear their greasy fingers all over this property, all over these cash cows, because they know people will go to see it. And all they do is they flaunt some legacy characters that they pay a lot of money for. They put them in the trailer and they have them in a really shitty, gross, embarrassing place in this content. And there's no end goal, there's no love for it, there's no passion for it. It's just rinse and repeat. It's plastic, it's corporate, it's gross. I feel the exact same way about the new Scream movies. I touched on the Blumhouse Halloweens. I'm just so tired of requels, and I wish they would end.
I wish they would too. And like we want good horror movies and we want horror. We love horror. This is
Yeah,
what we love. And I think that's why we get so passionate about it, especially when they're taking something and we don't hate all sequels and all that stuff. I like my favorite horror movie ever is the Evil Dead remake. Like I love the Dawn of the
right.
Dead remake. There's certain things that I actually love. It's not that I'm like boycotting all these things, like don't touch anything. But if you're gonna touch something so classic and cherished and loved, and you need to respect it, and there is absolutely no respect for any of the franchises that David Gordon
No,
Green has
there's none.
touched. None.
There's none. I think it's different when it's a remake because that's like a completely different vision,
Yes.
different artists. Like that's like I love Rob Zombie's Halloween's, especially H2,
Mhm.
because it's just such a stylistic choice. It's so different. It's its own thing. It's confident, and he fulfilled his vision for that, and I respect that. But if you were excavating these beloved properties and you were just like, hey, we're doing a requel, we're retconning everything, we're gonna do it better, we're bringing these characters back, then fucking do it right, or just don't do it at all, because it does ruin the characters, it does ruin the property. It You can't help but just think about, oh my god, Ellen Bernstein said this, she did that, and then you think about that when you go back to watch the classic because of these piss poor
Yeah.
choices. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah. And I know that studios and whatever, they want their money and what else are you gonna do and blah blah blah. People want to see these movies and all the studios. It's like I don't give it like
I don't care.
I don't care about that. And as long as they're gonna do this kind of thing to things that we are passionate about, you're gonna get bad reviews and people who are passionate about it. And this is our opinion, how we feel about it. Deal with it.
The only way you're ever going to get change if for this shit to stop is to be hard on these things, be hard on these
Mhm.
movies. Yeah, that's all you can do. And I think people are especially in the time we live in, people are afraid to voice their opinion, voice their criticism because they're afraid that they're gonna look too negative and they're gonna get picked on. Fuck that, man. If you don't like something, say why, provide context, and stand up for the
Yeah.
things that you do love. And I love The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist 3. I love, John Carpenter's
Mhm.
Halloween and a lot of its sequels. And
Yep.
but I don't like none of this, and I want it to stop.
I don't even think this is being negative. We're passionate because we're so positive about the original content.
Mhm.
And we're being truthful and honest in our feelings. And I think that's not even being negative. That is like we're just being honest. This is how we feel about
It's
it.
coming from it's
And
coming from a good place, a
it is
genuine
coming from a
place.
good place. It is. Thank you, Kevin. Jeez. Thank you. I watched a found low budge found footage independent Irish horror movie last night called The Devil's Doorway. It's about a possession movie and it is like beyond what the Exorcist believer is. So you know what?
Awesome.
There is horror content out there. I do love new horror, even old horror going to it. I love it, but we got to stop feeding these cash cow pig studio feeding
Yeah.
us products instead of actual art film. They're not. They don't care. They don't care about us. They don't care
It's
about
just
us.
well,
They
it's
don't
just
give
the
a
key.
crap.
Well, it's just the keys aren't given to competent directors. Like they're just
Yeah.
not. There's so much studio meddling with like suits and pencil pushers that just don't understand why this movie succeeded and why it still continues to stand the
No,
test of time and why it resonates
don't
with
care.
people 50 years later. They don't care about that. They're just like, oh,
Nope.
we're gonna slap the name of the title on this movie. Oh, we'll pay her a bunch of money. We'll bring her back. They'll love it. They'll eat that shit up. No,
All right, let's talk some spoilers, Kevin. First things first, you go give me something that you want to talk about, and I'm gonna, yeah.
I want to touch on when we first get introduced to Catherine and she meets Angela like at school. They're friends. She's really kind of chippy and cheery and nice. And then the dad runs into Catherine's parents and after they go missing. And there's a lot of dialogue where Catherine's parents are just like, I can't believe she would even hang out with someone like you and your daughter. Like so racist, so gross. You remember that?
They say something, well, I would have known if, like, is that, were they being racist? Like, what the hell? Because they're Christian, they're automatically racist? Is that what they were trying to do?
That's how it was implied to me. It just came off
Okay.
like she can't believe she was hanging around black folk and black people and like, oh, like I should have known this would have happened. And then the more time we spend with his family, which is not much, like most of the time is spent with the dad and Angela's character, which is fine.
Mhm.
But like Catherine got the short end of the stick, it's so important to spend time with Catherine because at the end, Catherine's the one that gets taken to hell, and you feel nothing because you are not and you're not invested with her character, with her story, with her family at all, because her two parents are presented as like a couple of buffoons, these white Christians that are racist, that are redneck hicks, that are just like, stupid as can be. I'm so tired of that. And so when like, the exorcism scene happens, you feel nothing. The parents don't even give a shit. They're just kind of sitting around. The dad hides behind the wall. It's just like, what are we doing? This movie felt like it was written on the fly. So I guess yeah, that was a big ramble about where I wanted to start, but I guess I'd start with Catherine and how poorly she's written and her family's written. Just so stupid.
I didn't feel a connection between her parents and her. I didn't feel any sort of like parental like love, any sort of anything like that. I mean, and I thought that Catherine was more convincing in before like the big possession, because but that was that a lot of that had to do with like the off with the mouth and the directing. But I found her the creepier, more like the way she was moving and the way she was like I found like her to be more like, ooh, I want to see more of this character. But what they did with her character was just like you don't care, and then you're not scared, but then you want to care, but you can't. They don't give you any time to care. They don't give you any substance. No one has substance. No one there's no This movie has zero
Yeah.
substance or depth. None.
Yeah, there's no
None.
character
None.
development. There's no soul. I know
None.
people keep using the word soulless, but it is. It's super soulless. There's no
Yeah.
spine to this movie. It's just so flat and cheap in
Yeah.
every avenue of this movie.
Hmm.
What pissed you off the most? Or I mean, the whole movie did, but
Oh.
just something that just really,
Oh.
really irritated you.
Okay. I feel bad even I feel like I don't want to say it. It makes me want to cry, and I don't know why it makes me want to cry, but I feel like choked up. They poke her eyes out. Like, they did that to her. Ellen Burstyn's character, that's what they did to her. This cheap scene where for some reason this possessed girl is wandering the house while everyone's downstairs. I hate it in movies when people leave their kids alone and they're like possessed or
Yeah.
there's a ghost coming. No, no one would do that. Let me just say one thing. No parent would just do that. Okay? So she's like wandering the house free, and then she goes up there, and Ellen Burstyn apparently is like just starting to like, I don't know, exercise this girl. Like, you can't do that. That's not like she's like, I'm not an exorcist. I'm not. But then she starts exercising her, and it's just like this doesn't make any sense because this wouldn't
In
work.
the name of
And
my
also,
daughter Reagan,
oh
you
my
need to
god,
be. Yeah, the dialogue.
why are you even bringing Reagan? This shouldn't even be like a thing. It's so cheesy. And then they take a crucifix and they stab her eyes out. And right there in the theater, I was like, no, 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 no. I was like, no, this is what you're doing to her. How, I want to say how dare you so many times, but like, how effing dare you?
I thought it couldn't get worse than the scene with
Oh, yeah.
Angela's dad, where he just travels to Chris McNeil's house. Who fucking knows where she lives? He just goes across the bridge and he's there. And Dowd referred him. She knows everything in this movie. It's really weird.
Yeah.
He gets to Chris McNeil's house and she's like making hot chocolate or some shit. They sit down. They're talking about the events that happened in 1973. And he's just asking about Reagan's exorcism. And I cannot believe the line of dialogue they wrote for Ellen Bernstein. And it goes something along the lines like, yeah, I wasn't there for the exorcism. I guess they didn't want me to be a part of their damn patriarchy. I could not, I wrote that down in my phone. I could not fucking believe that is an actual quote from such an important character in horror movie history. Those two priests, Father Marin and Father Karras, fucking died to save your little girl from the devil. The reason why you weren't up there was because it was dangerous. It would have been way too traumatic for you to see that. They
Yeah.
risked their life. They gave their lives for your little
Yeah.
girl to have her back.
Yeah. He sacrifices himself for this stranger, and she's blaming the patriarchy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Also, it's like, if you're in there, the devil who's
Oh,
possessing your child is going to try to manipulate you and manipulate everybody. Duh. The thing about this is, it's so obvious why she wouldn't be in there. Like, it's so obvious why.
and it ruins the ending of The Exorcist because like her little girl is saved and Reagan, she doesn't remember what happened, right? She has no recollection of it. And at the very end, she sees this priest, she sees his collar, she doesn't know who he is, but like subconsciously, she knows he's good. She knows that he is a helper. And she gives him a kiss on the cheek, and it's so sweet and heartwarming. And the last shot of Reagan that you see is her in the back of the car in the shade. And she turns around and she waves and she goes to the sunlight. It's so good. It's so good.
I know. And Kevin, see how Kevin's getting emotional? I'm getting emotional. It's because they don't give an F.
I didn't expect to get that emotional, but it's just a really beautiful scene. But
It
and the reason
is.
why I brought that up is Reagan doesn't remember any of that, so they go on about their lives and they try to move forward. But in this movie, they have Ellen Bernstein. She writes like a tell-all book about the events and she profits off of it. And then her and Reagan go their separate ways. Reagan like runs away from her mom. It's just like, what is
But
this? And
the
then
whole
I can't wait till we get to the end of this fucking thing, this movie.
yeah.
But yeah, moving forward, so she goes back with them and they get to the house and it's shot really weird. Like they get there and they're like, no one's home, and Ellen's like, yes, there is. She's like Captain America now. And they go in the
Yeah.
house and it's like ransacked. Like I thought maybe Catherine killed the family or some shit, but the family's just kind of like hunkered down in the kitchen. I don't know. So
Praying in the
then
kitchen?
so then Chris McNeil goes to the steps and Catherine's like, hee, and she just runs to her room. But then we go up the stairs and we see like there's straps on the bed, like Reagan used to have straps. It's just like, when did that get put in place? When did this get so extreme? It just comes out of nowhere. It's just super fast and awkward and stupid and dumb. So then in walks Chris McNeil and she's just like, you know me. We've met before. I'm Chris
Like,
McNeil. That's just so stupid. It's so like, Captain America bullshit. And the dialogue's awful. It's so bad. It's
so
so
bad.
bad. It's so bad. It's worse than bad. And she performs this really pathetic, awkward, no good, poopy exorcism where she's like, in the name of my daughter Reagan, and the girl's like, ah, she goes in the corner, and then Chris is like, are you okay? And then out of nowhere, she grabs a crucifix from the floor and she stabs Chris McNeil's eyes out. And I just could not believe that they did that just for, I guess, shock value and just like a fuck you to the fans.
Yeah.
Why else would they do that?
No.
I guess that's why they make these movies, is what it feels like. It's just a fuck you to fans and they get off on it.
Oh, she didn't grab the crucifix off the floor. She called it like, Thor calls his hammer and then she stabbed
Oh,
him.
right, right. She
Remember?
did. She did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you looking for Reagan? Just so stupid. But then Chris McNeil gets the Laurie Strode treatment where she's just, sidelined in a hospital bed for the rest of the movie, giving weird, like, superhero exposition. Fast forward to the end of this movie with all the
Oh my God.
cringy, embarrassing things that happen with her. we get to the I knew exactly where this was going. Just the way like it's lit, the way she's sitting, the like, we enter the room, and Chris McNeil's, I don't remember the dad's name. I'll just call him Victor or some shit. The door opens and she's like, she has these pads on her eyes. She looks ridiculous. And
Yeah.
she's just calling out. She's like, Victor, is that you? And the camera like is like has a tight shot on her hand as she reaches up, and you know who's gonna be there. You know who it's gonna be, and it's Reagan. It's fucking
Mm.
Reagan. And then Reagan grabs her hand, and she's like, "No, mom, it's me." And I guess Blumhouse is supposed to just like think we're pinching our nipples, and we're just like, "Yes, thank
Reagan's
God,
back.
so cool." The next line of dialogue is just like so cringe. It's so verbose. Chris McNeil grabs her hand and she goes, "Oh, my daughter, Reagan." It's so obvious. Why do you need to say my daughter, Reagan? Just grab her hand and break down. You don't need to say who this is. Like going back to your point, the dialogue is written like it's treating the audience like we're idiots.
That's why. It's because, well, they're probably thinking, well, Reagan's old now, and are they going to recognize her because she's old now? So maybe we should tell them doubly, because her saying mom isn't enough. So what we got to do
It's
is make sure
not
she says, my
apparently.
daughter, Reagan. You know
Yeah.
what?
So you come
When
in,
I,
you say, "Hey
when
mom, it's me," and you say my daughter, but then say Reagan. Okay.
when I saw Reagan come in, like you think it'd be like a big, my God, it's Reagan. She's here. That's so amazing. I was like, no, Linda Blair, no, stay away, Linda Blair. Do not
But
be in this
stay
franchise, Linda
far
Blair.
away.
Go, go, go. I was like, no,
Run.
they got Linda Blair. No, I was so upset about it. I was so upset. I'm like, what are they going to do to you now? What are they going to do to you? How are they going to ruin you?
They're going to.
We need to talk about the exorcism part, because this movie,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
course,
The
there
best
has to
part
be
of the
this
movie.
pandering, everyone's included, and oh, it's okay, this
Yeah.
exorcism's for every single religion, and we all can come together, and we're
Mm-hmm.
the avengers of God, and we're gonna cleanse all these children because we're all coming together with our religions. Of course, to make the Catholic priest weak. The Catholic priest is a pussy,
Yeah.
of course, because they can't make the
Right.
Catholic one the strong one. And then the Catholic priest doesn't want to be part of it because, like, oh, like the archdiocese or whatever says no. And then finally, when it's all you think all is
My
failing,
God.
the priest busts through the doors like with
He
like
takes
what?
his shoes off and he's just like throws his cape behind his back. He's like,
Yeah.
"I'm
And
here now."
I know, a rosary in one hand, a crucifix
God
in the other.
almighty.
Let's go. And it just felt so. And then, of course, how can this movie be a movie without some mimicking of the most
Yeah.
famous shots, right? So,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
someone's head has to turn around in this movie.
Ooh.
I can just see them on the
Yeah.
writing table, all stoned. Danny McBride. Wouldn't it be cool if the priest's head got turned around like in the first movie, and people are gonna be like, "Oh shit! Oh, like wouldn't it be cool if we opened up the movie with dogs fighting, like how there's dogs fighting in the first movie? Oh, that'd be so cool." It's like oh gosh.
We had the main character like in a, I don't know, in a gym and he's boxing, kind of like Karis did. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh? You like
Huh?
that?
Yeah, you get it? Good? Okay, so exorcism movies, and I think all like a lot of horror movies, the simpler the better because it feels more realistic. It feels like this could happen. This is like I'm in this. This could happen to me. The more real and gritty it feels, and the more simple it is, I think that I just love that. Okay, and when they're performing the exorcism on screen, first of all, this nurse is just able to take this equipment from the hospital. Like she just took all this equipment from the
Yeah,
hospital, just like
like
whatever.
none of the doctors or nurses had any problem with them taking these girls out of the hospital and all this
No,
equipment. I Yeah.
no. So The Exorcist is so beautiful because it's so human. It feels so natural and organic,
Hmm.
and it feels like this is really happening to this girl, man. Like this feels. I felt like that voice was really coming out of Reagan. I felt like all her movements were she's possessed. Like you feel like this is really happening to this girl.
Yeah.
We come into this exorcism, and I like I say, all it is twisting heads, arching backs, and burping possessed voices. But then you get some weird ass vapor coming out of mouths. You get weird ass spitting in a fire and then smoke. You get the smoke monster from Lost just coming through. The smoke monster from Lost is coming through to, like, I don't
That
know.
felt very like A Haunting in Connecticut when he burps all like the weird Harry
Yes.
Potter poo poo vapor. And I was like, what is going on, man? And like everyone's standing in a circle around these two girls. There's no tension. There's no
No.
like, oh my God, are they gonna save these girls? There is nothing at all in the air. There's nothing. It's so like I keep wanting to say soulless. I don't want to keep referring to that term,
Do
but it's
it.
just soulless.
It
It's just
is.
soulless. It's soulless as fuck.
It's a typical exorcism movie that you would just find, but they slapped a beloved name on it just to get people in
Yeah.
there. And like I'm talking like this girl gets raised out of a chair and is staring at these bright shining lights, and then a freaking what portal opens up on the like I'm telling you,
I don't know.
this is an exorcist movie, and the CG in this movie is like beyond what I thought it was going to be. There's fucking portals swirling in a ceiling at one point. There's all this smoke going into a light for some reason, like a light that's on like a lamp. Like what is that for?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why is there smoke going into a lamp, and why is that supposed to be effective or scary or anything at all? I don't know. This movie's trash, hot garbage. It's stale. Actually, you know what? It's stale, cold, wet, damp garbage that has been like in a big trash can and it rained on it. And then you get
Yeah.
like the rain trash water going into the sewer.
Mm.
That is what this movie is.
To me, it felt like one of those throw up bags on an airplane where someone just breathes in a lot. And it's just that recirculated
Oh,
air. It's like that, but if you found that like marinating in dumpster juice at your local
yes.
dump, that's what this movie is to me. That's being nice. Going back to the ending, whenever we have that big reunion, throughout the whole movie, Chris is just saying how much she misses Reagan. She hasn't seen her in so long, and then they blind her, and she's never gonna see her ever again. Cool, cool.
It basically was like, hey guys, we have to make an Exorcist sequel. And they were like, all right. And they just threw a bunch of crap together and they're like, here. But worse, because I feel like they disrespected it, and it feels like it was on purpose, and I don't know why.
It
Because
does.
there's
It does. It feels intentional to piss people off and to try to ruin the legacy of The Exorcist and those characters that are so goddamn important and special. Yeah. So I was hot. I was hot coming out of that theater Thursday. And
yeah,
so I really didn't want you to pay to go see this movie, but I'm glad you did. And I'm glad that we are talking about it because this should never happen
no,
ever.
stop, stop it, leave everything we love alone unless you are very passionate about it and you're going to do it justice. And there are people
Mhm.
out there that can do it. There's probably people out there who will watch this movie, like writers and directors that are probably like, this is what you did. If I had that chance, he
Yeah.
wasted it. He wasted it. He threw it away. And there's good writers out there. There's good directors out there. And why they're not getting the chance to do something that they're passionate about with something so great? Because of money. And that's why we're so mad.
That's
It's
it.
all
Yeah.
money and it's all product and
It's all
that's
corporate
all it is.
greed. That's all it is. It does suck because there's so many of these missed opportunities because it's been in the wrong hands of studios and directors. And if you were going to greenlight an Exorcist movie, you better fucking bring it. Like this is The
Yeah.
Exorcist. It's the scariest movie, in my opinion, ever made. Will ever be made. If you were going to bring that back, then it needs to be in someone's hands like a Ari Aster, someone that can bring the weight of like the family dynamic and just like emotional turmoil and like the horror elements. Like you need someone that can take a swing and hit a home run instead of someone that can just hits a bunt and trips over himself and that's it.
So Kevin, our advice to everyone watching this, don't go watch it. If
Don't
you
see
do
this
watch,
movie.
don't pay for this movie. Don't give this movie any money. Don't don't justify it. Don't allow it. This is like when you reward bad behavior in a child and they're never going to learn.
Yeah,
Just
don't
stop.
sugarcoat it. Like if you know this is a bad movie, then don't be like it's not that bad. It's not supposed to be The Exorcist because it is. You know it's supposed to pay respect to its original property and it doesn't. So don't
No.
sugarcoat it. Don't kiss its ass.
Everyone always says speak your truth. Well, this is our truth, all right? This is our truth. Let us speak our truth. And you should speak your truth too. And I hope that your truth is that you hate it. Thank you for watching this very passionate episode from Replays It All Side Quest with Kevin Ketchie. We're always really passionate and say what we feel. And I love doing stuff like this with you, Kevin, because I know we're not going to hold back. And I know that even if we had different opinions, we would respect each other. And you know what? We respect your opinion. If you want to go in the comments and be like, you guys are wrong, is actually great. We'll be like, you know what? Good, great. Glad that you felt that way. Honestly, that's great. But you know what? Personally, we didn't like it and we had to share it with y'all.
Yeah, I think people should just demand for better. I'm demanding for
Mhm.
better, and I think that you should too.
And I think we should just all start a protest because enough is enough with this already. And
Yeah,
David Gordon Green, just please stop with horror. Just please stop. Please, we're
just
begging
go
you to
away.
stop, man.
Yeah,
Just
just go
go,
away.
no, go do whatever. Go do something else if you want. Like you're fine, but
Pineapple Express 2. Go back to that.
Pineapple Express 3, Pineapple Express 4, do all that. Pineapple Express remake, just whatever. Please leave horror alone. You can find more of our content on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at Replays It All. Kevin Ketchie, where can we find you?
You can find me at I hate David Gordon Green on Instagram. You can find me on my Instagram is at Watch Horror Films, YouTube Kevin Ketchie, and also my podcast is Night of the Comments on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram.
Awesome. And you know what, guys? Never stop playing and never stop telling the truth about how you feel about stuff. And don't be scared of people calling you negative or whatever. It's like, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel, man. And people say to just like embrace it, embrace it. Never
Mm-hmm.
stop. Share what
Never
you feel.
speak
Who
speak
cares?
from your heart, and you'll feel better. Do it.
And if we change our Instagram handles to I hate David Gordon Green or David Gordon Green, please stop. Maybe you can find us there. Let's start that. Let's start a whole group.
I'm in. David Gordon Green's in here, like about to put his all nasty chap lips all over me.